What is it that really separates a good manager from a great one? It's a question that has kept leaders up at night for decades, right? This constant, frustrating search for a style that gets amazing results but doesn't crush the souls of the people doing the work. Well, let's dive into a famously simple solution that promises to do exactly that.
So often, when we think about management, it feels like we're faced with this false choice. On one hand, you've got the tough autocrat. They are all about the bottom line, the profits, the results. And you know what? The organization often wins. But the people, they feel drained, undervalued. Then, on the other hand, you have the nice Democrat. They're all about the people, making sure everyone feels supported and good. And while the people might win in that scenario, the organization's results tend to suffer. It feels like you have to be one or the other, half a manager. But what if that whole choice is just a myth?
This right here. This is the idea that just cuts right through that dilemma. It's the whole philosophy of the one-minute manager in a single sentence. It's not about choosing people or results. It's about realizing that these two things are completely, totally linked. When people feel respected, when they're crystal clear on their mission, and when they actually feel good about what they're doing, they just naturally produce fantastic results. And that simple truth, well, that's the key to everything. Okay, so how do we actually put this into practice? Well, it all kicks off with the very first secret: 1-minute goals. This is the bedrock of the whole system. The real power of a 1-minute goal is just how simple it is. Look, this is not some 10-page strategic document nobody ever reads. It's a super clear statement under 250 words that you can read and absorb in about a minute. It lays out exactly what good performance looks like. And, crucially, it follows the 80-20 rule. We're not doing this for every little task. This is for that vital 20% of activities that are going to drive 80% of your results. In the process itself, it's just as clear. First, you and your team members sit down and agreed on the goals together. It's a partnership. You define what good looks like in real, observable terms. Then, you write each of those key goals down on its own single sheet of paper. But here's where the magic happens: the daily review. It literally takes a minute to read the goal and another minute to just check in with yourself and see if your recent actions are lining up with it. It's like a constant, gentle course correction system.
So why is this kind of feedback so incredibly powerful? Think about it like this. Imagine you're bowling, but there's a giant sheet covering the pins. You roll the ball, but you never see if you hit anything. How long would you keep playing? Not very long, right? Well, that's what work is like for a lot of people. 1-minute goals, they lift that sheet. They let people see the pins. And that immediate feedback, that's the breakfast of champions.
So, once we have those clear goals in place, we can move on to the second secret, which is all about 1-minute praisings.
A 1-minute praising is pretty much exactly what it sounds like. The moment you see someone do something right, especially if it's something new or something they've been struggling with, you give them immediate feedback. You don't save it for the annual review. No way. You walk right over, you tell them specifically what they did right, and then you tell them how good it makes you feel and how it helps the whole team. It's fast, it's sincere, and it is unbelievably powerful.
You see how this just flips the typical management style on its head? Most managers use what the book calls a leave-alone zap approach. You're ignored and ignored until you mess up, and then zap, you get zapped. The goal here is the total opposite. It's to actively try to catch people doing something right. This isn't just about being nice. It builds confidence, it encourages people to try new things, and it reinforces the exact behaviors you want to see more of. And here's how you do it. You praise them right away, and you get specific. You share the positive impact it had. Then, and this is a big one, you just pause for a second. Let that good feeling really sink in for them. You encourage more of the same, and you know what's amazing? Over time, people learn to catch themselves doing things right. They start to internalize that feedback loop, and they become their own best motivators. Okay, but what happens when things go wrong? Because they will. And that brings us to what might be the trickiest part, the third secret, 1-minute reprimands.
The 1-minute reprimand is like a little 2-act play. Act 1, you're tough on the behavior. You are direct, clear, and specific about the mistake itself. But Act 2 is just as important. You're nice on the person. You have to separate that one action from their inherent value as a person. The message is crystal clear.
That thing you did was not okay, but you are still a valued member of this team.
So the process itself is broken down into two very distinct halves. The first part is tough. You state the mistake, you tell them how you feel about it, and then you pause. That little bit of uncomfortable silence really lets the message land. Then you transition into the second half. Maybe you put a hand on their shoulder, you remind them how much you value them, how much you believe in them. And once that reprimand is done, it's done. It's over. No holding grudges. You move on together. So there you have it. The 3 secrets: goals, praisings, and reprimands. But this isn't just a grab bag of techniques. Let's dig into the simple but really powerful psychology that makes this whole system click. The reason this all works so well is because it's built on how we as humans actually operate. By giving immediate feedback and separating the behavior from the person's worth, it completely short-circuits that natural defensiveness we all have. It also gets rid of what the book calls gunny sacking. You know, that awful practice of saving up every little complaint for one giant destructive explosion in an annual review? This system prevents that. Instead, every single interaction builds trust, and it creates an environment where people feel safe enough to manage themselves. This belief is absolutely fundamental to the whole thing. A one-minute manager doesn't just go out and try to hire people who are already winners. They see their real job as developing talent. They genuinely believe that with clear goals and the right kind of feedback, they can take people who have potential and help train them to become winners. It's just a profoundly optimistic and powerful view of people. There's this ancient Chinese story in the book that just illustrates this tough and nice idea perfectly. See, when the consistently tough prime minister finally showed his supportive side, people trusted him. They respected him. But when the always nice emperor suddenly turned tough, people felt betrayed. They felt like he was a phony, and they overthrew him. The lesson here is so clear. You have to be tough on the behavior first, then follow up with support for the person. That's what builds real respect and trust.
Now, a totally fair question might be popping into your head right about now. With all these specific techniques for goals and praisings and reprimands, isn't this all just a little manipulative? Isn't it just a clever way to get people to do what you want?
And the answer is a hard no. And the reason comes down to one word: honesty. See, manipulation is about getting people to do things they aren't aware of or haven't agreed to, but one-minute management is the complete opposite of that. The manager literally tells their team up front, hey, this is how I'm going to manage you. I will set clear goals with you, I will praise you when you do well, and I will correct you when you make a mistake. It's that transparency that makes this a system of respect, not a system of manipulation.
Ultimately, the book presents these secrets as more than just tools for a manager. They're framed as a gift. It's a gift you give to yourself because you get better results with less stress. And it's a gift you give to the people you lead because you're creating a workplace that's both more productive and more humane. If you want to boil the entire philosophy down to one simple, powerful formula, this is it. Goals are what get a behavior started. But it's the consequences, both the positive ones, the praisings, and the corrective ones, the reprimands, that make sure those good behaviors stick around and get repeated. And the final message of the whole thing is incredibly simple. This is not knowledge to be hoarded. It's meant to be shared. Because the only thing better than becoming a one-minute manager is getting to work for one. So the real question isn't just about how you can use these secrets for yourself, but how you can start sharing them to help create the kind of workplace that everyone really deserves.